Yeah, hi everyone and welcome to the latest soldering tutorial, and as always, thanks for tuning in. Now in this particular video I'm going to show you a great method for dropping sort of components out just with literally a piece of copper wire. Now I've showed a few of these sort of types of videos in some of my other postings, but I'm going to stretch the method sort of a little bit further in this one. I'm going to finish up with a really difficult component. I'm going to sort of show you how you can drop sort of that out without a hot air gun, so it's great for you people who haven't got one. We're going to start the video. We're going to sort of drop this simple four-way header out with this great method, and like I say, we'll work for a few other components. We'll end up with a really difficult one, and yeah, there's a few different sort of twists on methods throughout this video. Hopefully you stick with it till the end, and hopefully you sort of learn something from it. So now what we'll do, we'll get sort of started on this four-way header, and yeah, hopefully you enjoy the video. Right, so coming on to the first component within these videos, it's got this simple straight four-way header. Now, it's quite an easy one to start with. Like I said earlier, we're going to progress through from this to sort of difficult components in the second half of the videos. Hopefully you enjoy this one, and hopefully this method and some of the others can help you out in the future. So what we're going to do, we'll get the board turned over and we'll get sort of started straight away on this one. Right, so as you can see, I've basically laid a piece of copper wire along all the four joints. This is just a centre piece of wire out the centre of an earth cable. Use tin copper wire, you can even use an off-cut of a through-hole resistor leg. Any kind of wire is going to do the same job, and I've just literally taped it down up here to sort of hold it in place. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly add some sort of rework flux to the joints. It's not something, you don't really need this, but it's just for the video, it's just going to aid it slightly. So all I do, add a little bit of rework flux along all four. It's just going to aid the solder melting. Don't need too much of that. So I'm going to use quite a small iron tip to secure the pins to the wire. I'm using leaded solder, so I've got my iron set to about 340 degrees Celsius. I'll probably do all the videos within this sort of longer video with leaded, so it'll be the same temperature. What you do then, just get all the pins secured to the wire. Just go along one at a time, just get them all tacked to that wire. Just do the last one there. Right, so as you can see, got all four pins nicely joined to that copper wire. I'm actually going to bring a sort of larger soldering iron tip in now. Normally I'd do that last stage with a larger tip, because when you're sort of doing all these four together with a wire as well, you probably need a fairly large iron tip. So as you can see, you've got the body of the header down the side. Hopefully you see that drop down in a minute when I sort of hold the iron on the wire. What I'll do is bring the other iron in with a larger tip, hold it on there. You should see that connector drop down. You see it moving about. You might just have to aid it with tweezers. Just knock it down. There you go. Out. Just like that. Really easy. So if it doesn't fall out of its own accord, just sort of help it out with tweezers. All you got to do then, push that wire. Just get the wire pushed away from the sort of pins, from the pads. Then get the holes cleaned up. So just literally tweak it away from the. There you go, you've got four nice clean pads. Just got to get the solder out of the barrels now. I'm not going to clean the barrels on this one, but what we'll do throughout the other videos, I'll show you how I sort of use some solder braid, and how you can really sort of get a great result with solder braid. I'm going to sort of clean some of the holes out in other videos, and you will see the methods to get these holes cleaned out really cleanly. So anyway, what I'm going to do is move on to the next component, and yeah, we'll get that one dropped out with a different method. Right, so moving on to the next component within these videos, we come to this 10-way right angled header. Now there's quite a distance between this pin up this end, but again I'm going to show you sort of the great way this sort of wire method can help you drop these out really easily. Again, some people would probably argue, why don't you sort of try and get all the solder removed from the pins first around the sort of down the barrel. But this wire trick makes it so much easier. Drop the component out, and like I always keep saying, it's a lot easier to sort of clear the holes once there's no pins in there. So what we do, we turn the board sort of straight over, and yeah, we'll show you how you can drop these out really easily. Right, so as you can see, we've sort of turned the board over, and I've made this shaped copper wire going along the pins, but I've sort of looped it around both ends, so I don't need to sort of hold this with my tweezers. It's literally just going to sort of stay in position on its own accord. All I've used is a piece of copper wire. It's just one of the inner sort of wires, inner strands of this piece of earth cable. So basically I've got it running along all 10 pins. All I'm going to do is get the sort of wire sort of soldered to all them pins, hold my iron in the centre, and basically the sort of header should sort of ease out. I'm just going to hold the header, sort of guide this one out, because it's right angled. Sometimes I don't want to fall out in a straight line. It can be quite difficult. If it was a sort of straight header, it would just drop out. So what we do, get some rework flux added, get all the pins, like I say, attached to this copper wire, and then yeah, hopefully we can drop this out with relative ease. So we'll move on to that part now. Right, so let's start getting this sort of soldered up. So basically I'm just going to add some rework flux along the joints. It's just aids the solder sort of melting quicker. A small amount of that sort of fed along the joints. Now let's start the soldering process. So again, I've got quite a large soldering iron tip for this one. Sometimes if you get ground plane in your boards, you will need a bit more heat, so you might have to sort of fit a fairly large iron tip. Now there will be a few fumes sort of during this, so yeah, if you've got some kind of extraction, that's a good idea. So basically what I do first is get a small amount added on the M1s. Let's get the N2 sort of soldered onto the wire. Now I can sort of go along and do the 8 central ones. That's all you got to do, just run it along, just feeding the solder in, getting all them tacked on. Right, so all 10 pins are now connected to the sort of copper wire. Now we got to do, I'm going to just guide this one out with tweezers like I said earlier. So I'm just going to hold my iron onto the centre of the wire, and hopefully this sort of should drop out fairly easily. Just wait for the heat to run along. All the joints are melted, just got to, like I say, these can be a bit difficult, the right angled ones. And just push the wire off, and that's how easy it is to remove. So if it was a straight header, that would have dropped straight out. Because it was right angled, it can be a little bit more sort of challenging. So yeah, a pair of tweezers, just guide it out. That's how easy it is. Now you can sort of clear the holes with a lot more ease than if they had a pin in them. So what we do, I'm just going to quickly show you how to basically sort of how you use my braid, and how you can add flux to your solder braid and sort of make it so much better. So I'll just sort of show you that now. Right, so what I've done, I've quickly cleaned sort of general flux off using a fluid called Ultrasolve. I've sort of done a few videos sort of mentioning that. Basically what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you sort of a couple of holes and how I sort of use solder braid to clear the holes out. You can use a solder sucker, but I actually prefer solder braid. I actually always add flux to my solder braid. It just makes it way better. It makes the solder travel up the braid really easily. Hopefully you'll sort of see this in this demonstration. So basically I've added flux to my braid, and you should see the solder just travelling speedily up that braid. Once it sort of stops travelling, pull your braid away slowly, and that hole's totally clear. So, and now if you've got a large hole to clear, you can sort of do a sort of slightly different method. Here, what you can do, if you can place your braid in a slightly different position, you get sort of double the distance of travel of the solder. So basically if you had it about there, hold the iron on there, the solder can travel both ways, and that will basically give you double the distance of double the distance where the solder can travel up the braid. So that's what I like to do. If you've got a large hole, sort of do that method, and you can clear out a lot more solder at any one time. So yeah, hopefully you've sort of seen a quick tip there, and always use flux in your solder braid. Anyway, what I'll do, I'll get this cleaned up, and as always put photos up later. Now what I'm going to do is move on to the next component, and yeah, see how that one goes. Right, so moving on from the 10-way right angled header, come to this different type of 10-way header. This is a straight pinned one. So what we're going to do, get the board turned over, and I've got a sort of slight twist on the methods I've showed so far. It's basically 2 rows of 5, and I'll sort of show you how to drop this on out of a neat little trick. So we get the board turned over, and yeah, sort of get started with the removal process. Right, so we turn the board over, and as you can see, you've got your 2 rows of 5 joints. All I've done here, piece of copper wire again from sort of piece of earth cable, one of the strands of that. Basically I've doubled it up and it perfectly fills the gap between both rows of pins. So it'd be pretty easy to attach all 10 pins to this wire. You can get quite creative when you do these sort of methods. You can do a shape, any shape you want like that. You can hook it around both ends. Basically, it's a great thing about these sort of wire methods. Whatever the pin layout on your board, there's always a sort of way you can get them joined together. So anyway, what we do, we'll get this one sort of soldered up, and then I'll try and drop the header out. So again, a bit of rework flux. So we'll run that along the whole area. This just aids it slightly. So I'm going to do basically leaded solder again, so I've got the iron set to about 340 degrees Celsius. I'm going to use quite a large sort of iron tip because I've got a double row of copper here. Right, let's get them pins joined up. So it might take a short while because obviously the solder's got to sort of heat through the barrel and to get the whole sort of area sort of hot, and before it drops out, so all we do, just fill that centre bar up first and get them pins attached to it. Run along the line. As you can see, it's all front 5 done pretty quick. So basically fill the sort of bar up first and then just run along, sort of doing it like this. It's a little bit difficult around the back just for the camera angle. I'll try the iron at a different angle. Right, it's all 10 pins joined up, as you can see. All we've got to do now, put the iron on the top. Hopefully the header should drop straight out. Sometimes you can get pins fairly tight in the barrels, so mine needs a slight aid. But anyway, let's try to drop this out. So basically just run your iron along the top. There you go, straight out. That's how quick it is. There's your pads, perfectly there. Just bring the header in. Just get that wire out of the way. I'm just going to put the header in your view there. So the pins are probably all right on that. As you can see, yeah, no damage at all. Perfectly, yeah, good. Slight scuff marks on this header, but that's not from what I've just done. So anyway, that's how quick it is to remove it. Really easy method. Anyway, what we do, I'll just show you quickly how to clean some of the barrels out again, like I've done in other methods, and yeah, let's move on to that part. Right, so after removing that header really easily, we're left with 10 filled up barrels full of solder. So I'm going to do, quickly show you again how we usually solder braid. I'll probably show that 2 or 3 times throughout these videos, and basically the top tip here always flux your solder braid. There's 2 ways you can do this. Basically put it right on the end, and straight away you're seeing that solder travel rapidly along that braid, and then slowly pull your tip away and the braid away from the hole, and you've got left with a nice clear hole, basically no damage at all. So basically, yeah, if you've got a lot of solder, there's another way you can do this. I've sort of show it 2 or 3 times throughout the video. Just want to get this message across to everyone that this is a great tip. Use your flux. Basically, if you've got a lot of solder on the holes, get double the distance of travel. As you can see, it's gone both ways. Fill the sort of braid up, drag it away, left with another clean, perfectly clean hole. Now whenever you sort of get solder onto your sort of solder braid, always trim that off, so you always start with a fresh bit of solder braid. So that's another sort of top tip. Don't try and overload your braid because it won't take any more. Right, so move on now to quite a large transformer. Now this actual device has got 2 sets of pins, about 3 or 4 pins along this side, another 3 or 4 along this side. The pins are quite spaced out, so there's no way sort of try and join them together like you see some people try and chase the solder, try and blob them all together. Some people will probably say, why don't you use a hot air gun on this device? But I don't really like doing some sort of devices right on the edge of a board with the plastic body as well. We'd be pumping a lot of sort of excess heat into it. So the way I'm going to drop this out, I'm going to use 2 pieces of separate copper wire, one attached to each set of joints. We're going to get the sort of pins soldered to the wire, and then yeah, try and drop it out with 2 soldering irons. Now like I said before, it's always worth, if you can, get a sort of second iron, just a cheap spare one, so it can come really handy. So I'm going to do this with leaded solder, so it's going to be about 340 degrees. So anyway, what we do, get the board turned over, and yeah, we'll sort of start showing you this method. Right, so what we've done here, basically got the two pieces of copper wire in place, one running along them joints and one running along these two joints. Basically put a little loop around the end to sort of try and hold it in position better. I've capped and taped sort of this end down, so it should hold it down. So all we've now got to do is sort of solder each pin to the wire, both sides, and then get my irons on each side and yeah, try and drop it out. So we'll get on with the soldering process now. Right, so come on to the soldering stage. So I'm going to basically use leaded solder. So basically just get this sort of solder attached from each pin to the wire. There will be a few fumes during this because I've got some external flux added. So if you've got any kind of extraction, that's a good, yeah, it's a good thing to have. So let's just get the last one tacked on. So as you can see, I've got all 6 pins nicely sort of tacked onto the outer wire. So what we do now, we'll get both irons sort of on each row of joints, and yeah, so we can drop the device out. So I'm just going to add a little bit of sort of small amount of solder to each iron tip, and just get them placed on the wire, and hopefully the device should drop out fairly shortly. Just hold it there. There you go. Hopefully you saw that come down below, and that's how easy it is. What I do, I'll quickly sort of, so there you go, there's the sort of device that's come out. All the pins on it are still, yeah, looking pretty good, so you probably use that again. So that's how easy it is. All we got to do then is just push the wire away from sort of, yeah, basically just push the wire off the pads, clean the pads up with braid or solder wick or solder sucker, and yeah, you're good to fit a new component. So anyway, what I'll do now, I'll quickly move on to the sort of showing you how I clear the holes out, and then the board will be ready for a new device. Right, I'm just going to quickly show you how I just sort of get the solder out of the holes. I'm just going to do just these two. Just going to sort of use solder braid. So when I use solder braid, sort of keep saying it, but I always add flux to it. So hopefully you should see the solder travel up the braid. You can sort of do it about there, so you get double distance. But with this, I'm just going to do this as an example, so you should see the solder going up the braid with the flux. So you can see it travelling up the braid. You just drag it. There's a lot of solder here, so I'll probably have to do this one twice. I'll probably need to do that one more time just to get that last sort of amount of solder out from the barrel. But yeah, hopefully you saw the solder travelling up the braid there. That's the benefit of adding flux. Hopefully I should get this one cleared out now. Just add a little bit of solder to my iron, place it back on the end, and hopefully we should get this one clear. You can see the solder's going up the braid again. Hold it there for a second, pull it away. There you've got a clean hole. You should be able to see the sort of green board through the hole. That's basically how you do it. So yeah, I probably won't do another one, just stick to that one, but that's literally, that's how I'll just go around cleaning all them. So yeah, like I say, add some flux to your braid and you just get so much more solder going up the braid really easy. So basically, hopefully you've sort of seen a good method there, how to drop these sort of devices out. And yeah, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to move on to quite a large sort of relay, and we're going to finish the videos off with that one. That's sort of twice the length for this, so yeah, it should be a good test. So we'll move on to that one now. Right, so we finally move on to the last device in these videos. Got this rather large relay. Now this one's probably about 1.5 inches long. As you can see, sort of down the front, you've got these SOT 23s, sort of 0805 resistor. So if you can sort of gauge sort of the spacing of them, the overall length of this, probably about 1.5 inches, like I say, end to end. So yeah, basically a lot of people would say, why not just sort of suck the solder from around the pins and drop the device? But it's pretty hard sometimes to get all the solder from around the pins. It's a lot easier to get all the solder out when there's no pins in the hole. So I like to drop the device out and then clear the holes out. So what we do, we turn the board over, and then I'll show you the method to drop these out, and yeah, hopefully sort of enjoy this one. Right, so as you can see, I've quickly turned the board over. You can see the 14 pins of the device. So you've got 7 this side, got 7 over this side. It's about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, like I previously said, from this pin up to this pin. It's quite a large device. This is probably the sort of largest type I'd try with this method, the copper wire method. So yeah, anything sort of smaller than this with sort of similar pin layouts, even tighter pins, it's a good method to use. So what I've done off camera, I've quickly made a copper wire frame as in some of the other methods. So get that dropped in position. What you got to do then, like sort of previously shown, just join all the pins up to this wire, all 14 positions. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use 2 soldering irons. It's always worth getting yourself a cheap second iron. Definitely will be times when you can do with 2 irons. So basically what we do then, we hold 1 iron this side, 1 iron this side. The heat should travel right around the wire, melt the solder all at the same time, and the device should drop out. Now it's a lot easier to clean the holes out when there's no pins in them. So if the pin's against the edge of the barrel, it's hard to get all that solder out. So that's why I like to drop the device out and then clean the holes after. So anyway, what I'll do off camera, like I said, I'll just quickly get these all joined up and then I'll rejoin you sort of when we're ready to drop the device out. As you can see, I've joined all 14 pins up to the outer copper wire. So I'm going to bring the 2 soldering irons in now and yeah, try and drop this device out. Literally, I've added some flux, you will see a few fumes. You've just got to go up and down the wire carefully. The heat should travel right along, the device should fall out. Just give it a little while. The heat's got to go through the barrels. There goes the device, it's gone out already. That's how easy it is. Hopefully you heard the noise of the device falling. So what I'll do, I'll just bring the device in actually. So you can see it, there'll be no damage to it. I'll just get this frame out of the way. I'll just leave it there actually. So the device comes in. Hopefully I can sort of zoom into that and get that. So as you can see, got no damage at all on the device. You could probably reuse that, there's no damage at all to any of that. So that's how easy this method is. So all I do, I'll clean these sort of pads up sort of soon, and yeah, we'll basically put some photos up with the other side, the sort of board, so you can see there's no damage. But that's how what sort of great method it is. So like I say, this is probably the largest type of device I'd sort of use this method on. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the videos, a few different methods there. Like I say, I'll clean this one up, put some photos up, this one and the others. And yeah, I'll see you in the near future for yeah, another soldering video. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Right, yeah, just basically before I do go, I just wanted to add this, just a quick sort of shot of clearing some of the holes out. When I sort of took it off, basically I couldn't sort of flick the frame off because the frame was basically stuck with flux. So you can see the sort of outer sort of image of the flux there. So basically I've already cleaned these 2 holes out, but I just thought I'd show you how I sort of quickly clean out. Basically that black stuff's just burnt flux in there, sort of no board damage at all, so there's just quite a bit of burnt flux sort of laying around. So what I'll do, I'm going to just quickly show you how to sort of clean your holes out with wick. Basically what you want to do when you use solder braid, add some flux to it. Basically it helps the solder travel up the braid, makes it so much sort of better. So basically you can sort of add the braid there to get sort of double the distance, but with these holes they're quite small, so I'm just going to basically lay it on the end. You should see the solder travel up the braid. Slowly pull it away and you clear your holes out. So yeah, always dip your braid in flux, and definitely aid you. Just do one more. So yeah, basically all that sort of burnt stuff on there's just flux, there's nothing to worry about. Just do the hole next to it. Again, I've added some flux to the braid. You see the solder travel up the braid, gently pull your braid away. Got another clear hole. So all you got to do, repeat that for all 14 on this device. Clean the board up. I use Ultra Solve cleaning fluid to sort of clean my boards, easily available. So anyway, this is finally where I do say goodbye. So what I do, enjoy the photos, and I definitely will see you again soon. Thanks again, and yeah, like I said, take care.